Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Royalty Cut here, and in today's tutorial I'll be taking you through the process of how to make this beautiful bubu gown that you see over here with an inner net gown. If this is a video you're interested in, please watch to the end, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. So for this tutorial, we'll be making use of these two fabrics you see over here. And the first fabric is a Mikado fabric. This is a Mikado, and it's not a mercury Mikado or a shiny face Mikado. It's the normal Mikado. And I have about 3 yards of this Mikado here. And I also have this net that we'll be using for the inner gown, and I also have about 3 yards of this net here. And this net is a little bit stretchy, but if you have enough stretchy net, just go ahead and use it. So I'm going to go ahead and place these two fabric aside, and we'll go ahead and draft the inner body, which is the net part of this. But due to the check that we'll be using will not be visible on the net, I'm just going to go ahead and use a pattern paper for it, after which we'll go ahead and transfer it to the net and just cut it out. For the net drafting, I went ahead to get this pattern paper just like I told you earlier, and this pattern paper is on fold. So we'll be cutting the front piece and the back piece of this net pattern in the same piece. I don't know if you understand. We'll be using this one piece for both the front piece and the back piece, and I'll be showing you how easy it is. Now for the length of this pattern paper, it's not up to the length that I'll be working with on our main fabric. So what I will just go ahead and do is, whenever I'm done drafting it here, while placing it on the net fabric, I'll just go ahead and extend the length to my full desired length. So let's start with the drafting. Now on this pattern paper, I'm just going to go ahead and mark a line that will be serving as our shoulder line. So I'll go ahead and mark this across. After that, I'm just going to go ahead and impute 1 inch from this point. Now note that the measurement that I'm taking from is from this folded edge, although you can use any sides that you want, it does not really matter, but for me I'm using the folded edge. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 1 inch from this tip all the way down to the full length of this pattern paper. Now, after marking the 1 inch, just like I told you earlier, I also went ahead to connect the dots all the way down to the full length. Now, this 1 inch will be serving for our zip contouring. That is why I told you we're cutting the front piece and the back piece together. Now, I'm going to go ahead and divide my shoulder to shoulder measurement, and I'm working with 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. So from this point that I have this 1 inch line, I'm going to go ahead and measure 8 inches. Now, whichever measurement that I'll be taking will be from this line that I have here and not from this end. So I marked 8 inches. I went ahead to get my armhole measurement divided by 2. My armhole measurement is also 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So at this point that I marked my shoulder to shoulder measurement, I'll go ahead and mark my armhole measurement divided by 2, which is 8. And I'll go ahead and extend the line and also connect this line to the line. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and determine my neck width and the depth. So since it's the front piece and the back piece, and this is a halter neck, if you look at the thumbnail very well, it's a halter neck. So we wouldn't want the neck to be very down. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the width of 3 inches and also the depth of 1.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it with my curve ruler, just like you see me do over here. So after connecting the neck width, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do now is for us to do our shoulder slope. So from the shoulder, I'll be coming down by 1 inch, and I'll be connecting this 1 inch all the way down to the neck width that we have over here. And after that, I'll go ahead and measure what I have left here. And I have 7 inches. I'll go ahead and divide the 7 inches into 2, which is 3.5. I'll mark that down. Then at this point that I mark 3.5 inches, I'm just going to go ahead and come in by 1/2 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and connect the lines together. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and impute our vertical measurements before any other thing. So from the shoulder line, I'll get my bust point, and I'm working with the bust point of 10 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that. I'm working with the waistline of 16 inches. I'll go ahead and mark that. And the hip length of 25 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark the hip length. And our knee length is 8 inches away from the hip length. So I'm going to go ahead and count 8 inches away from this 25. That will be 33 inches. So 33 inches is our knee length. our knee length. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark that down, and I'll be extending these lines together. You can see I'm done extending the vertical lines. I didn't actually measure it all the way down because I'm used to having a straight hand pattern, but if you're not, just go ahead and measure it all the way down before extending your line. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do for the full length, I already told you. So whatever thing I have here is what I'll be working with for the full length of our gown. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and divide my round bust measurement, and I'm working with 36 inches. 36 inches divided by 4 is 9 inches. So at this armhole line that I have here, I'm going to go ahead and mark 9 inches. Now remember that this is a net, and I told you that my net is stretchy, so I would just be adding a quarter of an inch allowance to this dress. But if your client does not want it a little bit free, just go ahead and subtract 1 inch from your measurement to get it a little bit tighter. So from this point that I marked 9 and quarter of an inch, I'm going to use my curve ruler to connect from this half of an inch to this point that I marked here for us to be able to get our armhole curve. And that is it. So we've gotten that. I'm going to go ahead and impute the same measurement that I imputed at this point to this bust point measurement that we have here. So I'm just going to go ahead and replicate whatever thing it is that I have. So after marking that down, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead at the waistline, I'm going to divide my round waist measurement into 4. And I'm working with the round waist of 32 inches. 32 inches divided by 4 is 8.25. So I'm just going to go ahead and approximate it to 8.5, just like you see me do over here. So I marked 8.5. And at the hip line, I'm going to go ahead and divide my round hip measurement into 4. And I'm working with 42 inches. 42 inches divided by 4 is 10.5. So I'll be adding extra 2.5 inch to it, making it 10.75. So I'll go ahead and mark that down. And after that, I'll be imputing what I have at my waist length here, the measurement that I have here at the knee line. This is our hip line, and this is our knee line. So whatever thing I had at the waistline, I'll be imputing it at the knee line here. So at the waistline, remember that I have 8.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 8.5 inches at the knee line, but I'll be adding extra half of an inch to it, making it 9 inches. Now remember that I'm also adding a little bit allowance to this dress because it's a net fabric, and I told you earlier that it is a little bit stretchy. So what I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to connect the lines. So from the armhole line, I'll be connecting it to the bust point this way. From the bust point, I'll be connecting it to the waistline, just like you see me do over here. Then from the waistline, I'll be connecting it to the hip line to get our hip curve. So from the hip curve, I'll be connecting it to the knee line. So after that, whatever thing I have at this knee length, I'm going to be replicating it at the full length of our dress. And remember that we have 9 inches here, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark 9 inches at the full length of this our dress, and I'm going to be extending it in a straight way all the way down. So after connecting it, this is what it is looking like already. And the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to contour our zipper part, although this net is not going to be having a zipper. So I'm just going to contour it for the back to be able to relax. So at the waist length here, I'm going to extend that line into the 1 inch that we have here. And at this point, I'll be coming in by half of an inch, just like you see me do over here. I divided that 1 inch into 2, and it's half of an inch. So at this half of an inch that I have here, I'm going to go ahead and connect this half of an inch outward to the outside part of this 1 inch. I don't know if you can understand. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it outward this way. So after that, this is what it's looking like. And from this half of an inch at the waist length too, I'm just going to connect it outward to this hip length, just like you see me do over here. So this is that for our zip contouring. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to cut this out for us to be able to cut it on our main fabric. So after cutting this out, this is what our upper body is looking like. Our net fabric is looking like. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to cut out this zip contouring that we did over here from the pattern that we did earlier, just as you can see. So after cutting it out, this is what it is looking like. So I'm just going to go ahead and slit open this center because the sides are still closed. So I'm just going to go ahead and slit open it. Now, after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is this 1 inch line that we have here. I don't know if you can see. I'm just going to go ahead and fold it in. Now, the purpose of folding it in is for us to be able to cut our front piece with this same pattern. Then for the back piece, I'm just going to go ahead and unfold it to cut out our back piece. Pinning it down, this is what it's looking like. So this is our front piece, then this 1 inch unfold is our back piece. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to fold our net for us to be able to cut this directly on our fabric. So basically, as you can see, I was done folding the net that we're working with into two. It's folded into two already, and I went ahead to place my pattern paper on this fabric. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to determine the full length of this dress. Now I'm working with the full length of 63 inches, so I'm just going to go ahead and mark my tape all the way to 63 inches, and I have it here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut from this neck area all the way down to the full length of this dress. And for the full length, I'll be cutting with the same measurement that I have at the knee line. Now, after cutting out the front piece, this is what I have here. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring this aside and also place the front piece aside. Now for the back piece, what I'm just going to go ahead and do is to fold my fabric again into two, and I'll go ahead and unpin this 1 inch that I folded in earlier. As you can see, I'm going to go ahead and unpin it this way. So after folding my fabric into two, I'll go ahead and place this pattern paper this way directly on the fabric, and I'll be cutting it with the same pattern that I have at this 1 inch line and all the way around. So basically for the neckline of the back, I'm just going to go ahead and decide how I'm going to make it to pass through the head without any stress, since this cloth is not going to be having a zipper. So from the shoulder line, I'm just going to come down by 6 inches or 7 inches, depending on how down you want yours to be. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and mark 6 inches at this point, as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a kind of curve that will be giving us an opening at the back area. So I'm just going to go ahead and come in by 1.5 inches or even 1 inches, depending on what you want. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this open this way from the point of our neck width for it to be able to rhyme with the back. I'm going to go ahead and curve it this way. So I'll cut this out so that we'll see what it looks like. So basically this is it for the back neck area. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up to the right side. But before that, I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I'll be sewing with that 1 inch zipper allowance that we gave earlier from this neck curve that we have here. I'll be sewing with the 1 inch all the way down to the full length of this dress to join the two back piece together. Now remember that the back is also going to be having a slit for us to be able to work on this straight dress. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to be getting our knee length, and the knee length that I'm working with is 42 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 42 inches at this point, and this is the 42 inches. So the 1 inch that we'll be using to join from the neck area all the way down will be stopping at the knee length. It will be stopping at this point. I don't know if you can see. So I'll stop at this knee length, and for the rest or the full length of this dress, I'm going to be opening it after using the 1 inch to stitch it, and I'll be using an hemming gum to attach under this point to be able to attach this fabric to be closed directly on the main fabric. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that for the back piece. So for the sleeve part of this net that we are making, I went ahead to fold my fabric into four, as you can see, because we'll be cutting the right piece and the back and the left piece together. So from this folded edge, these two folded edge, not from the part that has an opening, I'm going to go ahead and get my sleeve part So for my sleeve cap, I'm going to go ahead and divide my shoulder to shoulder measurement into two, which is 16 inches divided by 2, and it's 8 inches. So from this folded edge, I'm just going to go ahead and mark 8 inches at this point. And the 8 inches, I'll go ahead and divide it again into 2, making it 4 inches. So vertically, I'll be marking 4 inches this way. So after that, I'll also go ahead and divide this 4 inches again into 2, making it 2 inches. So I'll mark that vertically, just like you see over here. So for the 8 inches that we marked earlier, I'll go ahead and divide it into 2, making it 4 inches. So I'll mark it horizontally this way. So for our sleeve cap, I'm going to be connecting from this folded edge all the way down to this center part that we have here in a curvy way, just as you can see. Then from this point, I'll be connecting it down to this point in a curvy way. So our sleeve cap is ready. Now from the shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead and get our elbow length. So for the elbow length, I'm working with 13 inches. So from this point, I'm going to go ahead and mark 13 inches. And for the full length of this sleeve, I'm working with 26 inches. So I have 27 inches here in total. So I'm going to be using the 1 inch for the folding. So I'm going to go ahead and extend the full length of this sleeve. So after that, I'll divide my round elbow into two, and I'm working with the round elbow of 12 inches. But since this material is a little bit stretchy, I'll go ahead and divide 12 inches into two, which is 6 inches. But instead of marking 6 inches, I'll be marking 5 inches in total. So for the end of this dress, I'll go ahead and measure my round wrist measurement. But this point, it's not your round wrist that we'll be making use of. We'll go ahead and measure this point. I don't know if you can see. Fold your hand this way and get the measurements. Now, the purpose of this is for your hands to be able to pass through the mesh, even if it is a little bit tight. So I have 9 inches here. I'll divide 9 inches into 2.5, 4.5 inches. But instead of marking 4.5 inches, I'll be subtracting 1 inches from it, and I'll be left with 3.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 3.5 inches. Now, the purpose of this subtraction, just like I told you before, is because my fabric is very stretchy. I don't know if you can see. So I don't want a situation where after shaping it, I will be left with a loose net. So from this point, I'll be connecting it all the way down to this elbow measurement that I have. Then from the elbow measurement, I'll be connecting it to the full length of this sleeve. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out. So after cutting this out, this is what our sleeve is looking like. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to notch the center part of this sleeve so that we'll know where the center is while attaching it to the net fabric. So opening this up, I have the right sleeve here and I have the left sleeve, and these points are folded. So I'm going to go ahead and place this aside. So basically, after I was done joining the two back pieces together, this is what it's looking like. Just like I told you earlier, and this is the neck area. I'll be attaching a hook and eye to this neck area. You can also go ahead and do a button and an opening for it to be closed this way. So for me, I'll be using hook and eye for it. And I left the side rough because it's a net. But if you want a neater something, just go ahead and fold it. But I don't think the folding is necessary. So I'm just going to show you what the knee length looks like. The slits that I told you earlier, I stopped the sewing at the knee line that I marked earlier. And this is what the slit is looking like. So for the hemming gum, I didn't use it again. I just went ahead to top stitch at that 1 inch to make it fold inside because the hemming gun was kind of messing up the net. So I just had to top stitch on it to hold it down to give us this neat opening that you see over here. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to bring the front piece, and I'll be placing it right side facing each other this way, making sure that the shoulders aligns together just like you see me do over here. So I'll go ahead and join the two shoulders with half of an inch. And the next thing I'll do is to join the sides. Starting from this armhole point, I'll join the sides with half of an inch too. Do the same thing for this other side. And I'll also go ahead and fold the full length. After joining the sides, I'll fold the full length with 1 inch. So after I was done attaching the front piece to the back piece and shaping it up, this is what it's looking like. Let me just go ahead and flip it over to the right side. So I also went ahead to fold the full length of this dress, and this is what we have here. So we are going to be working on the neck area for the turtleneck shortly, but before that, I'm just going to go ahead and attach the sleeve that we cut out earlier. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring out the sleeve. So the one sleeve will be going for this part while the other one will be going for this part. But before we attach the sleeve, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the wrong side. I'll turn it over to the wrong side and fold it right side facing each other. And I'll be joining the sides with the half of an inch that we used in stitching the main fabric. So from this armhole line, I don't know if you can see, from this point, I'll be joining it down to the full length of the sleeve with half of an inch. After that, I'll flip it over to the right side with it closed, and I'll be attaching it to the sleeve. And I'll also be folding the full length of this sleeve. Now you can also go ahead and do the same thing for the other side, which I'm going to do. After that, we'll go ahead and work on the neck area of this dress. So after attaching the sleeve to the dress, this is what I have here, as you can see. So this is the sleeve part of it, this is the back area, and this is the front area. So let's just go ahead and work on the neck area of this dress. Now remember that this dress is a turtleneck. That was why I went down for the front part by 1.5 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this over to the wrong side. So from this point that I joined the two backs together, I'm going to be measuring it all the way down. So from this shoulder point, I don't know if you can see, from this shoulder point, I'm going to be measuring from the neck front area to the other side of the shoulder line. I won't be measuring the back neck place. So from this point, from this shoulder down to this same shoulder, I'll be measuring what I have at this point. So I have about 10 and 11.5 inches for the front neck area. That's from this neck area to the other side. I didn't measure the back neck area. So I have about 11.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my material. Now for the width of the turtleneck, I think I'll be working with the width of 3.5 inches to make it come up a little bit. So the 3.5 inches should be on fold. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a pieces for that. So I have this right here and I'm placing it on fold. Let's measure what we have here. I have about 3 inches here, so I'll just go with the 3 inches instead. So remember that the width that we have is 11.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and get 11.5 inches, and I'll be adding extra 4 to 5 inches to it because I'll be attaching hook and eye to the neck area of the back. I don't know if I told you. So I would need something that will get this point part of it. Just go ahead and measure 11.5 inches plus 5 inches, and I'll be left with 15.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and measure 15.5 inch. So I have 15.5 inch here. Now the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to notch the center of this band. I'm going to fold it into two, and I'll notch the center this way. So I'm going to go ahead and bring our front piece. Also get the center of the neck area of our front piece this way. I'll go ahead and fold it into two and notch the center of the front piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and place the band from that center point to the other center point this way. And I'll be using half of an inch to join it all the way down to this point, as you can see. And I'll also do the same thing from this place, half of an inch all the way down to this point. And I'll go ahead and fold this open edge that we have here. So basically, I was done attaching the neck band to this piece, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So if you're done with yours and it does not look like this, that means you made a mistake with the attachment of the band. So this is what the band is looking like. Here is the back piece and here is the front piece. So when I place this band around my neck area, I should be having something like this at the back piece. Let me just show you what it would look like. So I will be having something like this at the back piece because the band should be covering your back neck area, and this is what it should be looking like at the front piece. I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this aside because we are totally done with the inner net of this dress. So let's just go ahead and work for the bubu kaftan we have on top of this net in the thumbnail. So I'm just going to go ahead, this mikado that I have here, I'm going to go ahead and fold it into 4 equal parts. I'll fold it into 4 equal parts for us to be able to cut the front piece and the back piece together. Basically, after I was done folding these pieces into 4 equal parts, just like I told you earlier, I have 4 pieces in here in total because we'll be cutting the front piece and the back piece together. So I also went ahead to draw a line at this point that will be serving as our shoulder line. So at this point that I marked our shoulder line, I'll go ahead and divide my shoulder to shoulder measurement into two. And I'm working with 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. So from this folded edge, I marked 8 inches. Then from this point that I marked 8 inches, I'm going to be determining the sleeve length that I'm working with. So for me, I'll be working with the sleeve length of 15 inches. So from this point, I'm going to go ahead and mark 15 inches at this point, and I'll be adding extra 2 inches for the folding of the sleeve part, making it 17 inches in total, as you see over here. So after that, I'm just going to go ahead and mark my armhole measurement divided by 2, and I'm working with the armhole of 16 inches. 16 inches divided by 2 is 8 inches. But since this is a free bubu, I'll be adding extra 3 inches to the 8 inches, making it 11 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 11 inches at this point, and I'll be connecting the line all down to this point. So after that, I'll determine the neck width and the neck depth that we are going to work with. So since this is the front piece and the back piece, I'll be working with the neck width of 3 inches. I'll go ahead and mark 3 inches. And for the depth of the back piece, I'll be working with 2 inches. Now, I'm going to be marking these 2 inches for both the front piece and the back piece, because after cutting this out, we'll be separating one piece, and that piece will be serving as our back piece. Then we'll go ahead and work for the front neck area. So at this point that I marked my sleeve length, I'll be coming down by 1 inch, and this 1 inch will be serving as our shoulder slope. So from this 1 inch that I have here, I'm going to go ahead and connect it to the neck width that we have here in a vertical way, just like you see me do over here. So after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to get our bust point. Now from this shoulder line, I'm going to mark the bust point, and I'm working with the bust point of 10 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the dot to get 10 inches, or we can go ahead and use this 11 inches that we marked earlier. Now we'll go ahead and get our biggest round body measurement, and the biggest round body measurement I'm working with is my hip measurement, which is 42 inches. So my hip measurement divided by 4 is 10.5 inches. So at this point that I have this round sleeve, I'm going to go ahead and mark 10.5 inches. And since this is a free bubu dress, very free bubu dress, I'll be adding extra 6 to 7 inches for the stitching allowance and for ease. So from this point I marked 10.5 inches, I'll be adding extra 7 inches to it for the freeness of this dress. So I'm just going to go ahead from this point that I have our sleeve, round sleeve, I'm going to go ahead and connect it to this point in a curvy way, just like you can see here. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to get the full length of this dress. Now for the full length, remember that the inner piece we cut out earlier was 63 inches, and this piece is supposed to be a bit upper than the full length of the next piece. So instead of doing 63 inches for this piece, I'll just go ahead and do 55 inches or 56 inches. Just go ahead and count 4 to 5 inches away from the inner piece that we had earlier. So I'm just going to go ahead and extend this to the full length, and I'll be connecting this measurement that I have here all the way down to the full length of this dress. So after that, the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do right now is to cut out this piece. So basically, after cutting this piece out, this is what I have here, as you can see. So I went ahead to leave about half of an inch for joining the shoulder and about half of an inch for joining the sides. So the next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to open this up and take out this inner piece, because this inner piece will be serving as our back piece. So I'm going to take this out, and I'll be working with this piece that I have here for our front piece. Now for the front piece, I'm just going to go ahead and determine the neck area that I want for this dress. And you know that from the thumbnail already that we have that the neck area of this dress is a V neck. So I'm just going to go ahead and determine how deep I want it to be. So for the neck area of this front piece, I want it to be about 60 inches in total. So from this shoulder point that I have here, I'm going to be marking 6 inches downward from this point. I'll mark 6 to 6 inches. Now, if you want yours to be more down, just go ahead and mark 7 inches. So I marked 60 inches at this point. So with my curve ruler, I'm going to be connecting from this neck width that I have here all the way down to these 6 inches that I marked in a V shape. So as you can see, this is what it's looking like. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this open. And our V shape is already here. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up so that you see what it looks like. This will be serving as our front piece, and this other piece will be serving as our back piece. I'm going to go ahead and place this back piece aside just like we did earlier. So for this front neck turn up, we'll be making use of this net piece that we already used for the inner part. So I'll be using it to do the turn up area for this front. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this into two equal parts, just like you see me do over here. And I'll also go ahead and fold this front piece the same way it was earlier. And I'll go ahead and place this folded edge to the folded part of this piece that I folded earlier. Now I'm trying to cut out the turn up for this front piece. So now after that, I'm just going to go ahead and cut out this mouth area for it to be the same thing for the main piece that we are working with. So after that, I'm just going to go ahead and move this aside. Then at this next piece that I have here, I'm just going to go ahead and measure 4 inches from this shoulder part. I'll be measuring 4 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it out in a V shape too. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 4 inches at the shoulder part, and in a V shape from this point that I have here. At the end of this point, I have about 2.5 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect these 2.5 inches from this point all the way down to this 2 inch point in a V shape this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it out for you to see what it looks like. This is what it is looking like. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up this front piece that we have here. I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side, and I'll go ahead and open up this piece that we cut out earlier this way, and I'll be facing it. I'll be facing this net piece, the right side, to the wrong side of our main fabric. I don't know if you understand. Then I'm just going to go ahead and use about 1/2 inch to join this neck area that we have here, and I'll be flipping it forward to the front part of this main piece. So basically at this point, when I was done attaching this net piece to the front piece, I went over to flip it over to the right side. I just had to flip it over to the right side, and this is what it looks like. I haven't ironed it yet. That's why I used a pin to hold it down for you to see what it looks like. So what I'm just going to go ahead and do now is to iron this for it to flatten down. Now for the back piece, I'll also go ahead and cut out a facing for it, but the facing will be the normal facing that we do for our normal piece, not this kind of facing I did for the front piece. So I'll go ahead and cut out a facing for it, and I'll flip it over to the wrong side, and I'll go ahead and iron it out. And after that, the next thing I'll go ahead and do after the facing part of it is to join the shoulders right side facing each other, making sure that the fabrics are facing right side each other. So I'm just going to go ahead and join the shoulders with about 1/2 inch, and also join this other shoulder with about 1/2 inch, and also join the sides with 1 inch. I'll be joining the sides with 1 inch, and I'll be folding in the sleeve area with 1 inch too, and I'll also be folding the full length of this top, and that will be what I'll be doing for this. After that, I'll be showing you how to get the ruched area that we have at the front piece. So basically at this point, I was done joining the sides and also sewing down this neck area that I showed you earlier. I also folded the full length, just like I told you. So now we are going to be working on the ruched area of this dress. Now for the ruched area, I'm going to come down at the full length of our dress. Now you can go ahead and choose which part you want your ruched area to be, whether by your right or by your left. So for me, I think I'll be doing the left side. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this way, just as you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and come in at the full length of this dress or gown that we have here. I'll be coming in by 12 inches from the shaped area. I'll be coming in by 12 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 12 inches. So from where the ruched area will be stopping from the shoulder line, I'm going to go ahead and take my hip length, and I'm working with a hip length of 25 inches, but I'm going to be counting 5 inches downward from my hip length, and I'll be left with 30 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and indicate 30 inches so that I will know where our sewing will be stopping from. So when I marked the 30 inches, I went ahead to open up this dress because the sewing will be starting from the under part. Now you'll be needing your needle and your thread. Make sure that the thread is a matching thread. So from the under part of this dress, be careful while sewing not to sew the back piece together to avoid your clothes being closed up. So just go ahead and pick the front piece upward this way and start your sewing under the dress to avoid the place that you folded at that thread to be visible on top. So for the sewing, it's not going to be a regular kind of sewing. Just make sure you space out your sewing and make sure that it is in a straight line, just like I showed you. So space out your sewing, take about 1 inch or 1.5 inch if possible, for us to be able to get that ruched effect we want. Because if you sew it the normal way you sew, it will not give us the ruch effect while when we draw the thread. So as you can see, I'm taking much space as possible. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew this up to that point that I marked 30 inches. And when I get to that point, I'm going to tell you what to do next. So at this point, I got to the 30 inches, as you can see. The next thing I'm just going to go ahead and do is to drag my thread. Now the thread that I used to sew this, I'm just going to go ahead and drag it for us to get that ruch effect. As you can see, this is what it should be looking like while you drag yours. So while dragging it, just make sure you put in place the size for it to be able to look well. So drag it and also put it in placement the way you want it to be, just like you see me doing over here. Now after that, I'm just going to go ahead and use this needle and thread to stitch that folded place that I have. I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down for it to stay in place, even if I should go ahead and cut out the thread. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch it as many times as possible. So after stop stitching that as many times as possible, I went ahead to cut out this band. The length of this band was 35 inches, and I also folded it already, and it was 1 inch unfold in total after sewing it round. Now for this band, you just want to go ahead and play around with your band, just any style or pattern you want it to be. Just make sure that you go ahead and fold it. So for me at this point, I was just trying to create something that would look presentable in form of a bow or something. I don't know, but I was just trying to create something. But yours, if you have anything specific in mind, be it a bow, just go ahead and get the shape of it. So I'm just going to go ahead and place this band that I have here directly at that point that I top stitched as many times as possible. I'm going to be placing it on top this way, and I'll be using this needle and thread that I already have at the main piece to sew it down to the main piece for it to be able to stay. Now make sure you sew this as many times as possible. So when I was done stitching this down, this is what it is looking like. As you can see, I just went ahead to attach it, and this is the finished look of this bubu kaftan dress. Now this will be the end of this tutorial. Please don't forget to like this video, comment on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. See you in our next video. Bye.